Crowns of Kullervo is set to release in June, and I wanted to publish this before the update hits. So let's go and talk about the Duviri, the update, the bugs, the expectations, and everything I can remember of before the next update launches and we get even more content about it. Uh, Starting with in general, I think that in general, Duviri is a big W for Warframe. It shattered my expectations in a good way. I was completely surprised, and some of the stuff that I thought I would love, I ended up hating, and some stuff I have no idea how it would be, I ended up loving it. So, yeah, it expectations were shattered in both good and bad ways. So that was, but in general, I think it's an amazing update. Yeah, talked about expectations. The quest. The quest itself was interesting, not even close to being as good as other quests in Warframe, like the new war. But it was a good quest. Confusing, definitely. But after you play some more times, you just understand what the F is going on. The map. The map and the visuals, I would say, they look amazing. The map, I feel, could be... We could have some extra. I hope they expand Duviri to be bigger. Because even though there's a... It's a quite a big map. It could have so much more. But it definitely looks good, looks amazing. The moods they just match so well with the map. The way they change the sky, the way everything looks, it somehow has even gives the world a Skyrim feeling. Not even sure how to explain that. I think it's the color scheme going on, the sound effects, everything just feels good and feels out of the ordinary from Warframe that we have. That is just a... And it's a... There's not just a Grenier architecture, Corpus architecture, Sentient. It's a bit different. You can see the parts of the Zerman around the map, and that is pretty crazy. Yeah. Still talking about the map. I'm talking about the Undercroft, not the circuit. Undercroft is a part of the circuit, but whatever. The Undercroft looks really good, but considering the amount of time that we have to run, not only the Undercroft and the circuit, we could really use more map variations because it gets boring, and the enemy pathing on those is really not the best. So, it's a bit weird. Objectives. In general, they're really interesting. Build the shrine sadly was bugged for quite a long time. Not dropping enough stuff, which was a pain, especially in multiplayer. Cave races were fine. They're still not back in the game. Not even sure if they're ever gonna add that back again, but they were there. That was cool. What others do we have? Chest opening. It's pretty interesting to solve those little puzzles. Other than that, kill the mounted axe is can be a bit challenging on Steel Path, which is good. Killing enemies is okay. I'm trying to remember other... Connecting the power lines is also an interesting puzzle to do. Little puzzle, but you know, it's interesting. I'm probably missing objectives, but I think all of the objectives are really engaging, are interesting to just do. And if you push yourself, you can do them much faster than you think. If you use everything that's available on your kit, stuff will just flow. Combat is good. it's different from Warframe, the rest of the game again. I got absolutely crushed the first few times I was doing the combat. I went straight into the Steel Path because I wanted to play the hardest available. But sadly, Steel Path isn't as rewarding. The combat is good. The feeling of the decrease and increasing your power with decrease is amazing. It gets to a point where you just break the game that is intended. They already said that. We did it day one, did a couple times, like every time I went in to farm the intrinsics and stuff. It was just that. The combat, I really don't have a lot to say. It's still a bit buggy. Some weapons are really good, some others are not that good. Drifter melees are interesting. Not only as in Duviri, but also outside Duviri, they're pretty interesting. Some you'll see people using, some were just forgotten. But the vast majority is just forgotten. Probably no one uses them. Still, inside of Duviri, they're pretty interesting. Extra objectives. Paragrams Hutch, I think it's called. Paragrams Hutch, we have moth fishing, herd tams. Oh, herd tams are part of the normal objectives. The Komi game. All those extra objectives are entertaining. I have completely rushed the intrinsic farming, doing the extra objectives on day 1 and 2. I've done the vast majority alone. The second day I joined with friends. The intrinsic farm is not hasn't anything to do with that, but they're two separate things. Extra objectives are cool. Intrinsic farming with extra objectives feels really good. The thing is that I rushed and I farmed that so fast. It was not because I was trying to go fast, because I wanted to be like something like the first to ever get the stuff. No, I genuinely enjoyed farming intrinsics, and I would love to have a good reason to go back into Duviri and keep doing extra objectives, because I find that to be fun. If they would allow me to go there and do Steel Path every 3 objectives, I get a Steel Essence, I would be fine with that. That would be interesting to do. Not that it would be the most time-worthy thing, the most OP farm ever, but it would be interesting to get something extra there. The characters, each one has their personalities. Talking about the main ones, the King, Loden, Matilda, Lucinia, Bombastine. They're all interesting characters. Also, the citizens of Duviri are interesting to see what they're doing around, and all of the stuff there is, the little bits of lore in Duviri. It's pretty interesting. I think that was a really good design. I don't know, I like Bombastine a lot. I think it is such an interesting character. And the way they made so the characters play during each mood, I think that is very well executed. One thing that is not talked about a lot in the as far as games goes are sound effects. I am someone who really loves sound effects, and I think that the sound effects in Duviri are amazing. From opening the decree menu and choosing your decree, which gives this whole different vibe, again saying that kind of reminds me of Skyrim, to having the arch gun deployed during the oral worm noises. All of that is really good. I think the sound effects are so freaking good. So freaking good. I really, really like them. The moods, I thought the intrinsics. The intrinsics. I haven't really thought of the intrinsics when I was making on my little list here, but I think the intrinsics in the vast majority are decent. Cave riding in open worlds is okay. For the endurance, if we had that extra like that. It's last gas. No, it's not last gas. It's cheat death. If we had a cheat death for the normal star chart, for the rest of the game, that would be so crazy. It would add a layer of immortality so big. It would probably completely change the meta of the amps. People would craft a lot of amps more like the one I use, or yeah, what my friends use. It's just a good amp to kill mobs and not just amps to focus on killing Eidolons and the Traxes on Zeraman. Because being able to revive yourself, if you don't know, when you're on the Duviri and you res yourself, you activate a cheat death, and then you res yourself with the last gasp, you actually get your charge from cheat death back, which is kind of crazy. It's a really good layer of immortality that helps you when you're not doing something like a defense or excavation or something like that, because your objective will just be it in the meantime. Let me talk about the circuits. Incarnon weapons were, I think all of them are a great addition to the game. Some are, just because some are not in the meta, it means that they're bad. No, that doesn't mean that. It just means that some weapons are becoming meta, other weapons are getting the upgrade they needed to just shine, and that is really good. The circuit. The circuit, talking again about kind of expectations, but related to the circuit. In my mind, I thought that before the update, if the update was trash, I was still gonna have the circuit to play with the Incarnons, and I was gonna love the circuit, and it would be the best thing out there. And I had no idea was gonna be about Duviri. At the end of the day, I absolutely hate the circuit. I hate the circuit. I think it's boring. The way it's handled is good, but it's boring. It's boring because you can put a shit ton of effort and a freaking Trax unit will just come out of nowhere and fuck your game up. That's just what is it. Yeah, that's how it goes. You might be super happy staying a couple more waves just because you're gonna get more points, but then a track shows up, F's your stuff. And they even said that, oh, if you have a Frost or a Limbo, you're gonna trivialize the defense and the excavation. No. They just make their way through there. But still, it's always good to have a Frost, Volt, or even a Limbo to help with that. But I think it's still, the risk is too high. If you happen to lose, you lose everything. And that was just what happened at the first week for me. I actually only got one of the Incarnon weapons that week. Also, the same thing happened to my friend Sora. We were going on a perfect timing. If we just completed that one round, that one whole round more of missions in the circuit, we would be done. A Trax unit showed up and he one-shotted our defense captain. I know that was week 1, but that was what ruined our second Incarnon weapon, because we ended up leaving it for the, for later, for the last thing to do, and that was a mistake. But they still patched that maybe once or twice, because the damage those things were doing was just absurd. And the maps are repetitive. Defense is a pain. Survival I don't really care a lot about, but defense is usually a pain. The pathing the enemies have to take is so bad. They take a year to get the objective. Yeah, that's that. I don't think they should put a mission that can fail along with Traxxas. A mission that can fail and Traxxas don't work in the same mission. They just don't work. It's gonna, at some point, they're gonna one-shot the thing. That's how it goes. And I bet a ton of people had just lost their circuit runs like that, with a Trax effing up everything. Yeah, that's it about the circuit. The circuit could be a rant, one video rant about it, but I just put it here. About the bugs, there were a lot of bugs in the start. There are still quite a few bugs. Again, the cave races, they haven't put them back. They were pretty interesting to do. So yeah, they were disabled and they're still not back. The shrine stuff was fixed well. I haven't gotten any shrine rebuilds done that has failed because the enemies didn't drop it. So yeah. I think that's the only thing about bugs. There were a few, some have been fixed. If there are still bugs around, I can't remember. Oh, Paragram's Hutch were also, quite a couple of them were bugged. I'm not sure if they were fixed or not. What to talk more? Paragram's Hutch is something that I think I mentioned in the map, during the map or something. If I haven't, during extra objectives too. It's one of the coolest things I've done in Duviri. They're super interesting, but they did bug a lot. They were so buggy. I think the last subject I want to talk about is my expectations for the future of Duviri. I hope that Duviri is another content island, and it just in a couple of months it will be left behind. Hope they keep adding more puzzles, more. They could even create more game modes around Duviri. They could do a lot of stuff around it. I hope they keep iterating around it. Who knows? Add more intrinsics, make more stuff. I enjoy Duviri in general. Spending time in there, it feels good. So I would really like to see more stuff being done there. And yeah. Let me know what you think about Duviri. Let me know what you think about what do you think it's good, what do you think it's bad. Leave it on the comments below. Subscribe. See you in the next one. Peace.